Hi, it's Jim Lee once again. This is one of the stranger projects. I'm actually drawing on a red door at the Secret Stash. It's Kevin Smith and Bob Chapman's comic book store in Westwood, California, in LA. And this is after a 3-hour signing. They asked me to draw a picture of Jay and Silent Bob on the door. I'm horrible with likenesses, so I said, well, can I just draw like Superman or Batman? I think I know how to draw those guys. And when I started laying it out in pencil, and actually this is probably about 20 or 30 minutes into the project, I've already laid down the pencils and going back in with a marker and inking. I kind of an idea kind of came into my mind of how I can incorporate Silent Bob and Jay into the drawing, and really. Even if I screwed up the caricatures because I had Superman and Batman in there, it would still look, I felt, pretty good. And also I saw this cartoon, this sort of very simplified drawing of Silent Bob and Jay on the way to the bathroom at one break, and they were simplified enough that I could just basically ape that caricatured style, and I wouldn't have to resort to looking at a photograph and trying to draw them in my style, try to make them look like Silent Bob and Jay in the style that I draw comic books in. Here on the left, that's Ali Garza poking his head in frame. He's just talking shit. And here, I'm telling him to F off, leave me alone. Actually, I have no idea what he's saying. It was a very long night, and as you can see, I'm working with a Sharpie. At first, I was very concerned that none of the materials would take on the doors. It was red laminate, very slippery, but the markers actually worked better than I would imagine. Sometimes if you have too porous of a surface, the marker sinks right in, and it eats at the surface, it eats up the nibs, and you're constantly having to change markers because when you hold them at a horizontal plane like that, the ink just doesn't flow. But it worked great. I've kind of drawn this size before, but the trick really when you're drawing this big is just to step back, and so you can get some perspective on it. When you're that close up, sometimes your proportions get all out of whack. Arms are too long or heads are too small, and you really can't tell because you're so close up to the drawing. And I just basically reminded myself, one, I've drawn this size before. Two, I've worked on red paper before, so I just had to think about it as this big sheet of red paper. And three, that I couldn't screw up because this is the only door they had. So the pressure was a little, there was a little bit of pressure, but I like I said, I was signing for 3 hours. I did, hundreds of sketches. Well, maybe not hundreds, but I did a lot of sketches. And after you warm up like that, the drawing comes pretty automatically. Now here I'm actually talking about how automatic it is. I actually screwed up. So here in my pencils, I actually had it where Superman was holding Jay's head, but I just inked him with his arms crossed. So unless he's growing a third arm out of the back of his body, I had to come up with something to tie Jay into the drawing. And I keep pointing to Superman's eye and to the side, and basically I came up with this idea where Superman's looking off to his left and using his heat vision and just blowing a hole through Jay's head there. And so I'm just creating sort of a sight line so I can line it up later. And I'm going in now and basically swiping this other artist style. Looking at this little drawing and drawing Jay for the first time. I thought the guy that actually did these caricatures did a good job of capturing not really their likeness per se, but sort of the spirit of the characters. And I chose to keep them in this very cartoony style to play off of this sort of gritty, pseudo-ultra realistic style that I draw or attempt to draw Superman and Batman in. Here, Eddie Choi, who's actually working the camera, discovers the zoom button and comes in, so you might actually see something here. I brought the video camera expecting to film a lot of stuff, and like 99 out of 100 times when I do these signings, I always forget that I have it with me, And so I actually had started this drawing with pencils and started halfway inking when someone said, "Hey, it would have been cool if I had brought my video camera." And ding, the light bulb goes over my head. Well, gee, I have one here in my backpack, had it the whole time. So I dug it up and I volunteer Eddie to film. Here I'm just inking Jay's outfit there. Hopefully you can see some of the detail. Those things off to the left are not blades pointed at me, forcing me to draw the threat of death. They're actually feathers from, I guess, a movie prop from Dogma. Okay, here I screwed up Superman's cape. It looked a little wide to me even when I first inked it, and like I often do, I sort of made a mental note to come back in and fix that. They actually had this huge Magnum marker. You saw it briefly there that I came in and did some of the hair, but it was probably a little too large there. But it was really useful for filling in a lot of black areas. Here I'm just sort of laying in the blacks on Superman's hair. The problem with that marker was the fumes were just incredible, really powerful. You can smell them from halfway across the room. In fact, Joe Casey, as soon as he sniffed it, he started walking closer, as if in some sort of trance. He was enchanted by the marker fumes. Here I'm just dropping in some shadows underneath Superman's head and off to the side to create a sense of three-dimensionality, the light source being on the upper left-hand side. This big marker comes in, I can fix a mistake and also drop in a black. I'm using this black to really separate Superman from the background, separate the whole composition. Also to create some contrast within the image. If I just left it as a line drawing, you really wouldn't be able to see it from more than 12 feet away. You'd have to get it pretty close. But when I pop in these blacks, you'll see the composition really jumps to the fore, and hopefully you can see it from a much longer distance. And now I have to balance out the blacks I spot on the left with. Now I'm holding this at arm's length because I'm telling you these fumes are just overwhelming. I'm starting to get lightheaded. Okay, I just come back in with that. And like I said, the door was a great material to work on. Alright, now I'm filling in the black on Superman's bat symbol on his chest. And I'm really filling the things I know that definitely have to be black, and then I'm going to take a look and sort of see the composition, sort of the lay of the land, where all the black shapes are, and I can kind of determine where I can put additional black shapes without unbalancing the image. So I've got this large black chunk to the left, a little bit to the right, and in the center I've got Batman's bat symbol. Okay, in a second I should be stepping back. Okay. Alright. So now I'm stepping back and going, alright, I need to make Batman pop a little bit, so I'm going to spot some blacks on his cape. And I'm going to separate him from Jay in the background by dropping in a pretty strong shadow along Batman's left arm. Also, I felt like his forearm was a little thin. His forearm and his left fist were a little small. So as I come in here with the blacks, I'm actually going to make his fist larger. You really can't tell from this distance. I just made it larger there by an inch.